start. Back to the future. Sypical. Player view. No more nonsense. Let's go. Thank you for the support, Spaceman. I love you, man. There we go. Thank you, chat. You guys are always on top of things. So, what's Sypical going to bring to FaZe? A team full of absolute monsters. Well, I think we probably know. Let's find out. Way out on this. That's fine. It's a good cutoff from Squishy. Sypical way off on this one. But he's able to make the 50 work. Looking for some boost on his way out. And goes right back into third man. Letting Arsenal and Reddles do a lot of the work. Now a tough spot all by himself. Yep. Justin gets a full field clear here. Sypical playing a very deep third man. As soon as Justin comes up for this, he pops this up. It's a difficult, that's a difficult one for Sypical to get at. He's got 100 boost. You know Justin's behind that ball. He's likely got a little more boost. Hindsight says he should have immediately challenged him. But at full speed, Justin pulls that up, and it's going to be unlikely Sypical gets enough vertical momentum to match Justin, and then Justin just gets over him. Whoa, what's going on? A bunch of gifted subs, broken composure with 5 of them. Thank you so much, the level up. Welcome to the stream. Get the Jorby powers in chat. Thank you so much. But Sypical left in a one-on-one. Let's see if there's any different way he could have approached this other than a challenge. Which, again, I don't think he would have had the vertical and lateral momentum to catch Justin on that. So he pulls off to try to squeeze that ball over to the right corner. Lets it come to him. Try to get that ball on his nose, but it's going to be difficult when Justin's on top of the ball like that. Justin does a great job getting around this ball and preventing Sypical from finding the angle he actually wants to out. It's going to be difficult when a one-on-one against Justin in any situation. Sypical, good old flip reset. And that's beautiful. He gives it right, or he gets it right back. He's got full space. Look at that first touch and the pre-flip and the stabilization afterwards. Sypical's disgusting, dude. That's disgusting stuff from Sip, man. I love the pre-flip and then the boost to stabilize your momentum. And then he catches it on the flip reset. That will never not be impressive to me. Yeah, the bump on top of it for sure. I don't know if the bump was as relevant, but either way, Sip. More, we're probably going to see more of that. I don't know if FaZe are going to have enough boost on the field. Turns off this. Stays in the play, though, with Reddles. Space Station. Very aggressive posture. I love that from Sypical. He stole the boost and boxed Squishy off the play. Sypical playing third man a lot in this game. Comes up, made a quick challenge. We'll take wide, we'll take the canister. Third man again, but now... Oh my. I think maybe someone was expecting somebody to go for that ball. What exactly happened here? It was a free shot for NRG. So Sypical just a little far out. Garrett took advantage of it. Arsenal pulling off. Maybe Sip was... I think Sip was always going for this. Swings up, and he's just a little too far off on that one. And I wonder what the communication there was from Space Station. Wait, what's going on, Bits? Timble Pimmel with 500 of them. Thank you. Sypical still in the third man. Come up using a lot of boost here to wait. That's a lot of that's what I call the hurry up and waste your boost. That right there. He doesn't really need to do this here. He could have 72, he could even have 85 here if he wanted. But I don't think he had to use 50-plus boost just to make a 50-50. Now he's got nothing. And now he's forced to play small pads. And, okay, NRG, we see Justin miss a play off of Atomic mispositioning. And then we see a pass just missed. NRG not punishing their opponents. Hello? This team still made Grand Finals of the Fall Major because they're that clean. Here we thought NRG were the perfect team, but here they are missing shots. That's not true. We knew NRG weren't the perfect team. Almost perfect. Sip first man, then he immediately rotates out after the 50. Ooh, that's a tough spot to be in after that touch. 12 boost, what do you do? Well, you're happy Reddles is there to bail you out. That's what you do. You pray that your teammate's there. Good little flip from Garrett. That's good use of the little boost that Sypical had to get a touch, but he's still got nothing here. Arsenal stealing that boost away, but that leaves Sip with nothing. Sypical wouldn't have had anything anyway. Arsenal protecting that boost from NRG. It's not announced, but everybody knows it's happening. It's basically public. It's on Smash, which is public. Should I put an asterisk next to FaZe? Is that what I should do? This is from Regional 2 quarterfinals. This series went 7 games. Space Station ended up losing. Sypical very reserved, honestly. Like he plays super relaxed as third man, then ends up using a whole lot of boost. It's almost a little similar to what we saw from Atomic. But I think the difference was Atomic wasn't nearly... he wasn't sitting back nearly as much. But there are definitely similarities to how they path for boost. Oh, I feel you, King Dolphin. So Sypical waiting again here. Full boosts. Now, does he use all of it to catch up to this? No, he's going to wait. Good touch over to Reddles. And he's still just going to play super relaxed here. Now, this also could be a product of who they're playing. You know, oh, that's a great 50. His patience pays off here. But there were some good 50s from his teammates. But Sypical really playing relaxed here against NRG. Maybe we'll look at one of their Swiss games. And we'll see how Sypical plays against, you know, like an Oxygen or a... or like an Alpine or something like that, to see if he gives this much respect to everybody.
Thanks.
And that's the GGs. So Sypical plays super relaxed, and the times he was behind the ball, I thought he made the most of it. I don't feel like Sypical really made many errors. I think he's being overly passive in some of these situations. Like, I think he could definitely afford to be a more aggressive second man, but he's definitely more willing to pull off, give NRG the space. And this is the same thing we talked about with Drees and Atomic, though. It might be a playstyle thing. I'm going to mention it every time. It might be a factor of who he's playing with. Let's pull up game number 2. That's Envy. Oops. Where's my ball chasing? There it is. All right, this is game 2. So, how does Sypical look here? Let's go to Sip. Get off director. I figured it out. Just go to AutoCam. Just go to the player. Go to player view. GG. All right, how many times do you think Sypical gets like beyond his defensive third as third man? I'm not saying that he should be doing that every time. It's just a note. I'm just curious. That's a good 50. Coming down. He's got the read. It's easy for Sypical. Typical for Sypical. What Bacchus plugin is that to load replays? It's literally in the Bacchus mod plugins, in the plugin manager. It's literally called ball chasing replay whatever. Like it's very obvious naming. You'll find it. Just go in the plugin manager in Bacchus mod. It's really handy. Really, really handy. What replays are these from Season X? No, these are from Regional 2. Thank you, G-Man. Look at G-Man. Covering the bases. We're going to pull off. Boost spawns for him. Again, not immediately going for that. Is much more willing to let Garrett come out with that ball. And pull off. Give his teammate a play. Kind of similar to what we saw from Drees. Although I think Drees was more... was a little more advanced, I want to say, took more advanced positioning as second man. But Sypical is exemplifying the same amount of patience. Wait, what happened?
Thanks.
Oh, that must have been a restart. Using a lot of boost to do this, but he uses enough. I love this. So players get into trouble here where they feel a little pressure when they get behind the ball like this. And this is a tough spot to be in when you've used a lot of boost to get to the ball, right? Sip only has 56 by the time he gets behind the ball here. So he's controlling it now, but you've only got 24 left, and all of NRG are waiting for you to drop that ball. So Sypical stops boosting because the best chance he has of winning this challenge is just to let it drop and then use that boost as Garrett's coming to that challenge to win the 50, and that's exactly what he does. That's good stuff from Sypical. Justin DC'd. Got it. Again, very relaxed. He is hanging around midfield. That's really solid third-man positioning from Sypical. Off. Oh my gosh, that's a full field. It's not the best opportunity, actually. He doesn't, I say opportunity, he doesn't really get the best pass out over, but that's a really tough pass to hit Reddles on. And I guess you may as well try it, but Arsenal's turned around, but he could turn right back up to it. I think Sypical goes for a soft touch here. Arsenal, or Reddles, goes for a bump against Garrett. That's a Space Station goal. So I don't like that decision from Sip. I think he definitely, the pass was open, and he had the space to recognize it as well. Again, very far back. Letting the play develop. Doesn't want to force it, and unfortunately he gets scored on here. So let's look at the progression. Let's see what he's seeing. So Squishy pops this up. Reddles is in front. Sypical doesn't use a lot of boost. Uses his flip to keep himself in position, but he's also given himself an opportunity to recover because Justin's behind this ball, right? He's covering the option if Justin decides to take this up farther, up higher, or closer to him on the sidewall. Justin, though, he's going to keep it close. And Sypical uses a lot of boost, that boost that he saved, to get into position. So it's not a bad recovery from Sypical, but Justin literally beats all three players, and no one's able to grab the 50. It might be better here if Sypical just jumps at that with Justin, with Reddles and Arsenal coming at him. I actually don't think maybe he would have gotten it. He takes a very wide path on this, right? So let's watch. Very wide path. Yeah, I don't think that's a favorable challenge for him. So pulling off there. Justin makes a great touch, and that second touch from Justin's nasty. So maybe if Sypical conserves a little bit more and doesn't fully commit to Justin being on the wall, like maybe if he just stays around the third, right? If he instead, here, let me draw it out. Whoops. Get that out of here. So let's draw it out. So let's use yellow, or let's use blue to denote where Justin's going. So Justin carrying the ball up here. And Sypical wants to cover it, be the faster player. But instead, what he probably could do is wait to see how Justin approaches that. And maybe go like right here. And then go up the back wall, and maybe you get a challenge out of it. But this is a difficult spot for Sip to be in. You want to force Justin to make a decision on the ball. You don't want to give him all the space in the world. That ends up being what happens. Justin gets a great touch here in midfield, and that causes Space Station's decisions to break down afterwards, right? Sypical pulls off, and because Sypical pulls off, Arsenal's behind the play. He's off by a hair. He loses the challenge. Justin's able to get a second touch. So Sypical, there's not a lot of really great choices here, and I see Mosey saying he shouldn't flip to get into Justin, but if Justin does decide to carry this up a little higher, Sypical will be in position to deal with a lot. Like at the ramp here, he'll be able to, if Justin goes high with it, he can challenge him and go high. If Justin goes this way, Sypical will be there to defend that. Sypical's just trying to cover the exit route around here for Justin. But Justin gets this touch really low, and that makes things awkward for Sypical. And so Justin, that's just good recognition from Justin, how Sypical's moving against the play. Sypical's reacting to Justin because Justin's closer to the ball. So Sypical has to react in some form or fashion. I think Justin makes a really good touch in midfield. And that's more why this goal goes in than Sypical not going to challenge with that. So get in the game. Sypical. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So yeah, Justin gets behind that ball, takes advantage of the positioning from Sypical. I don't think it's the worst decision from Sip. Like, he's not going to get to that ball to challenge Justin. And you're basically asking him, you're asking him to stay off the play and stay on the ground and not force Justin to make a decision and give him any kind of space that he wants. Maybe Sypical can be a little better if he waits around that, I'm going to call it the free space between the wall and the box, but I don't think so. So let's look back here.
Thanks.
Up and tried to read Squishy. He lost. Reddles couldn't get that touch. That's a toughie. Now, can he get to this? Can he beat Squishy to this ball? Got the double hop. Squishy's much faster to that. So Sypical just a little slower. Squishy getting to that first touch a lot quicker. The Sypical using the neutral hop to get a little more height on that one too. I don't know if he gets up there any faster. Good challenge as well. Now pulling out back to third man. He'll wait for this boost. Let Arsenal and Reddles keep that ball locked. Now he's on defense. Has to play. Good touch. I think he's still got 16 left. Doesn't need to use it. Oh. Well, I think Sypical wanted that boost. They don't get punished for it. Sypical gets demoed. But we've seen that a couple times now, where that's kind of one of the downfalls of playing such a relaxed third man, is when your team wins the ball hard on offense, you have to use a lot of boost to get back into the play. And then mishaps like that can happen too, right? Where there's a miscommunication between you and your teammate as to what's going on. Good read there from Sypical. NA players rely too much on 100 boost pads. I agree. We have seen, actually, it's funny. Drees is probably the only player so far that we've watched out of the three that hasn't really over-relied on canisters. Atomic over-relies on canisters. Sypical over-relies on canisters. And that's because Sypical and Atomic are very boost-heavy in terms of usage. Boost-heavy. Their boost usage is extremely heavy. They use their boost to maintain speed and keep themselves in position. And I do think that gets them into trouble sometimes. There's a lot of waffling that happens in between because they want to play fast. They want to be ready for everything. But I don't think you need to be boosting and going using all your boosts to go supersonic all the time. You see other players that are really good at maintaining momentum and speed using a very little amount of boost. Sypical, another low boost situation. Staying on the back wall. Got the boost away from Squishy. No one's pressuring, so let that ball come to you. Yep. I like the pull off from Reddles. We're not analyzing Reddles though. Oh, poor Sip. Couldn't get to that read, got back down. He really wanted that one too. 42-54. Oh, I feel like that's the one time Sypical's pushing up on the play and the ball sails over his head. And he's not even that far up either. That ball kicks out super wide. And he tries to go for it, but That ball kicked out so hard. That's unfortunate. Now let's look at that. Let's look at that one more time. See what happens here. So Reddles pulls off on that ball. Doesn't want to play it. He's got Arsenal pulling off behind him, and then Reddles just gives up the ball. Sypical can't get there, and you can't put that one on Sip. That's a tough spot to be in. And yeah. So honestly, we haven't seen Sip do a lot, have we? Sypical has played extremely relaxed. He wants to get into the play quickly. He wants to be, but he's much more willing to let Arsenal and Reddles do their thing and be a quick response threat. And this is again a team play style thing where Space Station always want to be ready for a quick counterattack, right? And Sypical playing so far back, that can certainly let you do that. But how many times did we see that happen for Space Station? They weren't able to generate a lot of counterattacks. In fact, I felt like NRG really punished them a lot of times in midfield. Space Station weren't as good on the follow-ups. I feel like if Sypical is a little more, takes a bit of a more advanced stance as second man and is a little more involved in the offense, Space Station might have more threatening opportunities. Now, here's the thing, and we're gonna look up let's look up a Swiss game from this regional. And let's just see how Space Station play against not NRG, because they are going to play very differently, against the best team in the world. And it could be that Sypical was very passive just against NRG, but somehow I don't think that's entirely the case. But let's see, who did they play in all the rounds? See, round 3. Ghost Gaming, that's perfect. FaZe tiebreaker was gold. What was that was in Regional 3, right? In Swiss? Or am I crazy? Answering a couple of questions here before we move on. Actually, no. We're going to keep going. Let's keep going. And then I'll respond to you guys, but let's look at one from Ghost Space Station. Doop, 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 doop. Sypical. Fly. I always do this backwards. Sip. Player count. There we go. See, I don't want to do Space Station versus Envy, because I already did Space Station versus Envy for Atomic. And I do want to see how Sypical plays against a not top level team. Like, does he play with the same kind of patience? Is he more wasteful of his boost? Oh no, this is disastrous already. So Lion Blaze pops this up. Sypical on the back wall comes up the challenge. That's just a really bad angle for Sypical. Lion Blaze is on the... If you're Lion Blaze, he's on the right side of this ball. Sypical needs to jump at this at a little more right. You see how he turns his car around? And his orientation is more to the left. You're not going to get to that ball. So he launches off the wall really weirdly, and that turns into a goal because of that mistouch. So, or mischallenge, really. They do lose this game 6-2. This is going to teach us a lot. This is going to tell us a lot about how Sypical plays when they're down. Is it going to be any different? Is he going to be more aggressive, or are Ghosts going to play this high-pressure play style, and are they going to be stuck on defense? Something tells me with the amount of goals are scored, we're going to get more of the latter. All right, Sip pushing up the second man here, and, well, Arsenal carried it himself. So no play for Sypical. Pulls back into third man, immediately rotated it out. And now he's there for the play. This is good from Sip, and good old... Oh, that's mean. That's mean. Look, that's a good shot. Shock, why you got to save that, bro? Come on, man. That's a good shot. Good job, Sypical. Okay, back behind Reddles, second man. Technically third man. Arsenal just staying downfield. That's a really tough situation for Sypical to be in. But if you know Arsenal's staying down there, that might be the time to play a little more relaxed as third man. And now he's left with 12 boost here. But Shock can't get a solid touch on it, so he's not punished. Or not forced into a pressure situation. Rotating back. Ends up accidentally bumping a Ghost player. Lion Blaze now trying to get in front of it. Ends up being a goal. Sypical's not needed on the play, but he made himself available for it. Another option for Sypical here, since Reddles and Arsenal in the last 2 plays, they were much more willing just to carry that ball forward. And Reddles also just going for the carry here. Sypical could go for a block on a Shock and bump him out of the play. But you want the option to be open for your teammate. No, not much to squirrel around about there. I don't even know what that means. Not much to squirrel around about. Sometimes phrases just come out of my mouth that I'm just internally question marks in my head. Sypical taking advantage of that ball. Well, an opportunity to be first man. Haven't really seen a lot of Sypical as first man. He usually gets a touch on the ball and then he's immediately out. That might actually be beneficial for a team like FaZe. But it's entirely possible he plays differently. Right now, we're seeing Space Station, they're taking a lot of opportunities themselves, although that's a good pass. Just couldn't get a solid shot. That's a time-buying carry from Sip. That's excellent work. Third man, you got to protect this ball. And he gets a good catch on the wheel here. You know, he pushes that ball forward. Lion Blaze, Roldiz, and Shock are all ready. They're like, we hope, Sypical, we hope that you hit that ball forward. Because you're going to get punished for it. Because he's got to go to the side. Lion Blaze is ready, but that touch keeps control right under his wheel. And then he boosts under it and is able to keep Lion Blaze off the ball. That's excellent third man work from Sypical. Another good challenge. Got some pressure there in. Caused some disruption as a quick first man. Now third man again. Oh, no, Sip. No! No! My boy! Look what they did to my boy. Look, pops that over. Sip's like, I read these. Oops. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. All right, so we're going to come back. Did conserve more boost than... Oh, my goodness. That's almost unfair. That's almost unfair. Shock just... He just muscles this ball in. Now, let's see. Sypical comes up, and he does get his hood on that play. If he stays a little bit behind that one, maybe he can get a little more forward momentum on the ball. I say forward, I mean to the corner wall. But instead, that ball just pinches down. That's Dom power right there. Actually, I do want to see, just real quick, let's look at Shock's carry there. Whoa, that looked kind of cool. Shock up here. How does he position? It's just a Dominus challenge, man. That's not even fair. That's not even fair, Shock. Sypical. There we go. All right, plays it slow. Saved his flip. Didn't get a lot done with it. Used a lot of boost on that play, too. I like the idea to carry the ball, though. You keep it close. You know Roldiz is there. You don't want to just boom the ball away, although you do have Arsenal downfield. He's rotating out. So this first touch is decent. It's not the best first touch. Notice how he has to use a lot of boost to get under this ball. But he also has to keep that ball close and away from Roldiz, because Roldiz is going to challenge him on the play. So, little small touch there. Roldiz is a little off of him there. I think Sypical can get a better first touch. And then he won't have to use so much boost to get under the ball. Because notice how much harder it is for him to control this ball. He does get under it, but he's using a lot of boost just to stabilize and stay under. Shock just different. Yes, sir. Waiting. Not jumpy. Still waiting on the side or the back wall here. It's a good controlled touch. Just couldn't get down on it. He ran out of boost. Oh. So this is tough. Shock is just destroying Space Station right now. Sypical actually keeps boosting. He actually just keeps boosting forward here. So he's got 24 when he turns back around. Really, by the time his car's turned around, he's got 17. So if he pitches his nose down here, I actually think he can make a more solid challenge. This is we're splitting hairs here. Keep in mind, like he's coming off, he's trying to get a quick clear, but he sees Shock right there, and Shock's turned backwards though. He can see Shock's turned backwards. I think if Sypical stops boosting and lets himself, if he drops under the ball a little bit, you could take a more solid 50. You are never going to win that 50 against a Dominus coming off the wall above and the Dominus just sitting below you. Those low 50s are so favorable in that situation. You have to get low and center on the ball. You can't hit the top part of the ball on the 50. Dominus will slip under you every time. Oh, what a shot. Yeah, I'm not looking at Retals or Arsenal, what they're doing too much. We're only really looking at Sypical. So there are definitely things that you might be spotting where you say, oh, Arsenal could have done this, Retals could have done that. But we're really just looking at Sypical and how he's reacting to those things and what his tendencies are. So this is another tough one. So Sypical coming back on the play. He's got no boost, picks up the corner, and he's too far out of the play on this. This is another symptom of having the boost canister disease. All right? We've seen this how many times today, guys? How many times where you can have the... Here, we'll watch from the kickoff. So pulls out. Look, small pad. He could immediately turn right here instead of going off into the corner. So let's break it down real quick. Oops. Get that out of the way. All right. So this is the path. Blue is the path Sypical did take. Yellow will be the path he could have taken. Sypical does this. He sees that boost canister yesterday, and he's like, I'm going to go get that. And he flips and maintains speed to go get that. However, we all see this little path right here. Look at all those paths that are open. Does Retals take any of those? We have to see it again. Maybe I look like an asshole now. Let's find out.
Thanks.
Doop, click in. No! Sypical. So no, Retals leaves all those pads open. All those pads are open for Sypical. He would have, what, 36, 40 plus boost? And that's an easy save. I don't think... probably going to pick on it a couple more times, but the boost canister addiction is real, man. It's a real thing. And they just keep getting scored on. Do we even watch the rest of this replay? Let's go to game 2. What happened in game 2? I think they might have lost that one too. They did. They lost 4. Oh my God, Space Station. What's going on with you? This was Regional 2, by the way. Sypical's fantastic. Just these order communication, accuracy, positional awareness, boost pathing, passing, boost management, air. And look, we are splitting hairs a little bit, but I do think that these are issues that are going to be picked on the international stage. These are things that Europe are going to consistently punish you for, because Europe are so down your throat when it comes to 50-50s. If you keep pulling off on the play, wasting a lot of boosts in situations where you don't need to, you're going to get punished. Sypical still, he's not playing, I wouldn't say he's playing as relaxed here against Ghost. He's definitely more comfortable. I say this, but he's actually pretty far back as third man right now. But I have seen him take a more advanced position, a little more against Ghost, but he's definitely much more patient than Retals or Arsenal. That gets him into trouble sometimes. I think maybe we don't even call it patience. Maybe we call it hesitation, because he ends up wasting a lot of that boost to get back into the play. Turns back out. That's fine. You're in position. Whoop. Way to keep boosting. That's a situation where I think Sypical, the first touch here, right? This is just recognition from Sypical. Gets this first touch. He wants to control it. Knows that challenge is going to come and is able to keep boosting into it to get the ball off of Lion Blaze. But I did like to control there. He knew Lion Blaze was coming. That's the one thing that I do like about Sypical. I think we've been picking on a lot of the negatives, but one of the big positives for Sip is that he's really his awareness when he's behind the ball is really high. And he's really good at getting behind that ball and winning a 50. But it's the little decisions that he makes when he's off the ball that sometimes puts him in tough spots where he ends up losing a challenge or he's beat to a challenge. or anything like that, right? Now he's playing really relaxed. He doesn't have a lot of boost. Look how much boost he's wasting here. Look, he grabs 36 here. He's nowhere near the play. He uses boost to turn around, uses more boost to go forward. He's got 9 now. He used all those small pads, and the ball hasn't gotten cleared at all. He's still so far off the ball, you don't have to be going supersonic back here. Picks up 14, and now you only got 14, and you're turning around.
Thanks.
I think he wants to be ready to respond to any sort of challenge, but I think he'd have more of a chance to respond if he's just a little slower on his approach, collects those boosts, and holds on to a little more of that boost. It is hard to tell when a quick clear is going to come, but what's going to let you respond to a quick clear faster? More boost in your tank, or you speeding up right before the clear happens? Oh, man. And back and forth. Sypical playing third man this whole time, only to miss the ball. I think there's a couple times there Sypical could have had more boost and had more of an effect on the play. Wasn't able to follow that up. That's not really a problem. Let's just move on. We gotta speed through this.
Thanks.
So many demos. Now, the thing I'm curious about, too, is I wonder if Sypical plays this relaxed on FaZe. I wish I could answer that question, but I don't know. Reynolds and Arsenal are two aggressive players, and I don't know if I'd call AJ aggressive. No, we'll have to watch AJ. Really get a feel for that one. But I don't know if being on FaZe is going to make him a more aggressive player. He might still be this passive. But who knows? It could be a behind-the-scenes thing, too, where Sypical feels really comfortable with First Killer and AJ, and then he just absolutely pops off. But this isn't the same Sypical that we saw in Season 9. The Sypical that outplayed everybody with his mechanics, was insane behind the ball. Every time he touched it, it seemed like he was going to score. We're not really seeing that Sypical, even against Ghost. Space Station do win this game. And that very well could be a Space Station playstyle thing. I wonder if much changes for Sypical on FaZe, though. Good, you at least got to go for that challenge. Okay. Sypical now second man, staying in the path, pulling off. That's good. Oh, and Arsenal spawns, and that's just unfortunate spawn from Arsenal. Because Sypical had kind of been almost mid-flip by the time that happened. Sip finally got his corner boost. And really waiting to come down on that one. And he gets the goal. Wow. Ghosts were really far off that ball. Sypical just gets it. That's the one time your deep third-man positioning has been really beneficial. You could just drive up the field and take a shot. He didn't have to think about that one at all. On, your team's doing work for you in front. Yeah, so it's not just against NRG. He does push Ghost Player off the ball. Immediately rotates out. This is also one of those things where you know you have a player like Arsenal on your team, and you know Arsenal's willing to just stay downfield. So is Reynolds. They're both really willing to just sit downfield, wait for an opportunity to come their way. A lot of faith in their third man to make the touches. It's a lot of faith in Sypical. And so maybe that's informing Sypical on his decision-making. That's why he's rotating out so quickly after he gets behind the ball and he gets out. Sip replay is just showing you how to boost from one pad to another. Yeah, he's showing you how to use all of your boost and be useless when the ball comes over your head. We literally saw a ball go in the net because he's wasting the 12 boost that he picks up on the pad to pick up another 12 boost, and he never gets over 20. So I hope he's not teaching you how to boost over small pads. You're going to use 30 boost. Oh, you're memeing. Oh my gosh. I got baited. You love to see it. Shout out to Seekup09. So that game's over, and that's a GG's. So, chat, tell me,